I don't know what you're talking about. I just came down here to watch my beautiful granddaughter.
Oh, okay. All right, I get it. The sweet old man routine, right?
It's not a routine. I was always sweet. You were just too sensitive.
Hey, hello, how do you do? Shady Doorags here. When my John Redcorn video blew up, another video on the channel that received a massive boost was the F is for Family one. In like a week, the views on that thing tripled. Turns out the King of the Hill community has a plethora of F is for Family fans hidden within it. I mean, I was the one who called King of the Hill a 90s version of F is for Family, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised. A lot of people demanded that I make more than just one video on this show, and the most requested topic was a discussion about Frank's relationship with his dad. And after seeing all these requests, I was like, okay, it is once again time to pit my audience against each other by asking them to take sides in a war of two disagreeing fictional characters. But first, a quick recap. In season 4, Frank's dad, Big Bill, comes to stay with Frank while on a business trip. By the way, I'm going to be calling Big Bill William in this video just to make sure I don't confuse him with Little Bill. Frank, remembering what his youth was like, prepares to face his father and all his horrible bullying. To Frank's surprise, however, William doesn't bully anyone while he's visiting. He's actually incredibly nice to everyone. That means Frank can't send him packing like he wants to, or he'll look like the bad guy. As the season goes on, Frank and William slowly start to patch things up, and it seems like the past will be left in the past. However, at his daughter's play, one of Frank's most sensitive emotional wounds is ripped open again by a comment from William. The two get into a heated fight, leaving off with Frank punching William in the face. Eventually, both Frank and William are able to see where they each went wrong in their own mindsets. Frank understands that while his dad has his faults, he's still just a guy trying to get by, and Frank should be more forgiving. And William understands that his actions do have an effect on his son, and he shouldn't just ignore Frank's feelings. Things end abruptly, however, before the two are able to reconcile their differences. Alright, now the point of Frank and William's encounter is learning to live with your loved ones, dealing with their problems, and forgiving them. There's not meant to be a villain, so to speak, as both characters made mistakes in how they went about their own situations. We're gonna ignore all that and ask the question, who is more at fault, Frank or William? 'Cause I want blood. Also, it's because while the message of the season does ring true, I still think it's important to recognize exactly how things went wrong in the first place. It's great to know how to fix things, but it's also great to know how not to break them in the first place. Well, let's start from the beginning, shall we? At the start of season 4, Frank laments to his pastor about his dad and how he acted during Frank's childhood. In public, he was a beloved stand-up guy, but in private, he went off at Frank for the slightest issues.
Last week,
Jesus Christ, Francis, what the hell is wrong with you?
Well, the radio made me laugh. It was funny.
Well, here's something hilarious.
One of Frank's worst memories is when William watched his play as a child. Instead of cheering him on, William heckled Frank while he was on stage.
Take 23!
Afterwards, embarrassed by Frank's performance, William made him walk all the way home while berating him.
Anybody want a daughter? I thought I had a son!
I asked you intellectuals what you thought about Frank's childhood, and sure enough, the majority of you said that William was way too harsh on Frank. Geez, you're so predictable. When I first watched this all go down, and I saw how nice William acted as a grandfather, and I saw that other people viewed the same situation differently than Frank, I thought maybe Frank was just exaggerating. As Western civilization continues to develop, each generation has it easier than the last. Just look at today's kids and their Switches that allow them to play AAA games wherever they go. All I had were Game Boys, and Game Boy Colors, and Game Boy Advances, and Nintendo DS's, and PSPs, and PS Vitas. Kids have it so easy nowadays. Point being, I could easily see someone like Frank only thinking he had it harsh because of the time he was raised. He only remembered his dad being overly aggressive on him because his mind wanted to make him a victim. But then this scene happens.
Grandpa, I'm really hungry.
What, did your mother forget to breastfeed you this morning? You're fine. Go play with the deer rifles. Men are talking. Jesus Christ, Bill. What the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah, this is exactly how Frank said William treated him when he was a kid. Given this, I kinda have to believe that Frank wasn't exaggerating at all. William did all those things Frank said he did, including beat his own kid with a crutch. Now maybe William could get away with the times were different back then excuse. You know, like we definitely wouldn't do what he did now because we learned more, but it was perfectly fine back then, so we can't judge him by the same merits. Yeah, that's not gonna fly either. William's friends, who are all alive during William's prime, are shocked and appalled at how he treats Bill. And Frank's mom is enraged when she sees William beating Frank. Shoot, even William himself has second thoughts when he takes a step back and actually looks at what he's doing. Okay then, last possible saving grace here. What were William's motivations for going off? Was he just trying to make Frank more of a man or something like that? I mean, it wouldn't necessarily justify his actions, but it would make us more empathetic towards him. Well, if you pay attention to when William goes off, you'll notice that every time he does it, something happens right before.
Christ, would it kill you to give me an attaboy?
Attaboy.
That wasn't so hard, was it?
We all thought it was a terrible thing what that cure did to you, Bill.
Yeah, sure was.
Right before William goes off on Frank, and Bill as well, something else prior got him angry. The reason he lashes out has nothing to do with the person he's lashing out towards. He wants to punish someone for the misfortune he's currently going through. And as both a father and grandfather, he feels he's justified in punishing his offspring in any way he sees fit. His wife doesn't get his joke? Anger. Good thing his son just spilled juice, that's something he can punish. His iron lung business went down? Anger. Good thing his son is playing music too loud, that's something he can punish. He's reminded of how his business failed? Anger. Good thing his grandson just knocked over a bunch of bats, that's something he can punish.
What kind of a man takes his failures out on his son?
Every man in America.
Well, I tried. Alright, cards on the table. I personally believe that society is getting way too oversensitive, and that's partially because of how critical we are of the role of the father as well as the role of punishment. What I wanted to do was make a video demonstrating that point using William's treatment of Frank. But William has given me nothing. What he did was wrong, even for its time. Even he doesn't justify it when he actually stops to think about it. And he's only doing it to feel better about himself, ignoring those he's affecting. Irregardless of how sensitive Frank might have been as a child, William was just a bad dad. But okay, that's just the childhood part of the relationship. What about when Frank is an adult? Well, I like to measure William and Frank's adult relationship in terms of phases. Phase 1 is between when William first arrives and when he goes off on Bill. As soon as William arrived, Frank should have approached him and said something along the lines of, "Hey, you treated me like crap during my childhood and we can either hash this out or you get back in that cab." If Frank had properly addressed the situation the moment William showed up, he would be in the clear. But since William is being nice to everyone, Frank doesn't want to look like the bad guy and puts up with William without addressing how he felt. During this time, William is a pretty stand-up guy. He does nothing to antagonize Frank, actually praising him a couple of times and helping out with his family situations. Meanwhile, Frank takes every moment he can to try and get his dad riled up.
I'm sure Sue would love to have her couch back.
My couch.
Yeah, Frank doesn't really have any excuse here. He's the one starting the fights. Don't get me wrong, I understand why he's starting fights. It's extremely frustrating that someone you feel has done you extreme wrong just decides to waltz back into your life and everyone treats them as if nothing happened. But that made it Frank's responsibility to address it with his dad, not berate him and complain every chance he got. As a result of constantly picking fights, Frank inevitably does wind up looking like the bad guy. Phase 2 is between the yelling of Bill and Frank getting hugged. After seeing how he treated Bill, William realizes that maybe he wasn't the best father, and all that complaining Frank was doing might have some merit. He tries changing his actions, showing Frank clear signs that he does care about him and will approach things differently. He even adapts to Frank's sensitivity. While at the airport, William heckles Frank just like he did when Frank was younger at his play. But unlike William's berating of Frank, his heckling was never done out of frustration. The intention, both now and when Frank was a child, was for William to show his support.
At least the idiot's not flying the plane.
You are embarrassing me.
I'm lightening the mood.
After having a chat with someone else, however, William decides to try a different approach. He still thinks Frank is oversensitive, but he would rather have his oversensitive son in his life than not. So instead of lightening the mood by making fun of Frank, he does so by praising him.
Everyone get blasted, courtesy of Mohican Airways and my son, Frank Murphy.
Dad? You helping me?
You're my son.
William continues to do acts like this, supporting Frank in his endeavors until it leads to a long-needed hug. It's at this point that Frank understands. His dad does care about him, which was what he wanted all along. And now, nothing can ruin their relationship. Oh yeah, phase 3. This is the most important of the phases. It takes place between the hug and the punch. As pointed out by Sue, while the hug did affirm some things Frank needed, he didn't fully clearly air with his father. William had to basically guess where he went wrong with Frank, and while he did a good job, there were still holes that needed patching up. It has, from the beginning, been up to Frank to make clear all the things his father did wrong and how that affected him. Because William seems to have changed for the better, however, Frank ignores Sue's advice and just enjoys his new relationship with his dad, allowing this to happen.
Your daughter's a star. All you have to do is stand back and watch her blossom.
You're so encouraging now.
I've always been encouraging.
Yeah, well, you know, when I was a kid, you encouraged me to get off the stage.
I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, I'm gonna have to slow down a bit to make sure that everyone understands clearly what's going on. William realized he could be a better dad to Frank. He realized he shouldn't take his failures out on his offspring, and that Frank doesn't respond well to public heckling. However, William never came to the conclusion that public heckling itself was wrong for him to do. It was his own way of showing support. What Frank is doing is accusing William of never supporting him, period. In William's mind, that's an outright lie and an insult. Yes, he might have done it in a way Frank didn't approve of, but he did support Frank. Now, Frank might have been right if he had brought up how William didn't support his dream as a pilot.
And then you fly away in your magic airplane, right, Tinkerbell? Instead of staying here and helping your father save his business.
Why would I?
But no, instead he brings up the play. Because William won't admit that heckling his son at a play wasn't supporting him, Frank sees this as his dad simply refusing to admit that he did anything wrong. This reignites the negative emotions Frank had for William, and the two get into a heated argument, until eventually... After this comes phase 4, where Frank and William distance themselves from each other for a bit, and like I said before, both realize how they could have handled themselves better. But you didn't come here for any of that sissy nonsense. You came here to point the finger at somebody and blame them for everything that went wrong. Well, no doubt about it, everything from Frank's childhood is definitely William's fault. The man has absolutely no defense for the bullying he did to Frank. The only leeway I can give him is the heckling because, despite what some people want you to believe, heckling does not automatically mean bullying. In fact, there are a lot of groups out there that do it all the time as a show of bonding. Shoot, making fun of each other is basically how me and my family say I love you. However, as a father, it was still William's responsibility to pay attention to how publicly heckling his son affected Frank. And William didn't do that until Frank became an adult. Thus, Frank has every right to hate William for it, as well as all the other stuff he did. But, however, although, when it comes to their relationship as adults, Frank is more at fault than William for one simple reason: communication. Yes, William messed up as a dad, but that doesn't mean he would know or understand all of Frank's grievances. From the moment he arrived, William came to Frank seeking only to spend time with his family. You can make the argument that William should have known that Frank would be upset with him, given their history and the last conversation they had, but I've personally found that reasoning to be severely flawed. Not everyone is offended by the same things, and not everyone will be affected the same way by disagreements. What was a serious relationship-ruining grievance to Frank was but a minor misunderstanding to William. With everything they went through, William clearly didn't think he was in the wrong for the longest time, and he clearly didn't hold a grudge. If Frank wanted William to really understand how he hurt him, he should have spoken to him. And no, not that mumbling and grumbling Frank tends to do, because nobody takes that seriously. I mean, really have a conversation with him. Not to mention, Sue tells Frank the answer from the get-go. He just chooses to ignore her advice. Someone is angry at their relative but refuses to properly communicate the problem? Now, where have I heard that before? I've said it before, and I'll say it again. If you have a problem with someone in your life and it is a benefit to you to keep them there, it is your responsibility to confront that person. Yes, even if it's supposed to be common sense. There are plenty of people out there who are willing to change once told they've messed up, but don't get that opportunity. If you withhold telling that person and just hold on to those hurt feelings, then that person is just guessing. Only when you reveal how you feel will you be able to see if they're willing to change or not. If they aren't willing to change, then fine. It might be time to end the relationship. But if you never communicate that you have a problem with their behavior in the first place, then you can't complain when they don't understand exactly why you're upset. This has been Shady Doorags. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye.
What a night.
Looks like things are going well with you and your dad.
Oh, you got that right.
But I feel like there's a lot more you two need to talk about. Really clear the air. One hug cannot erase 40 years of hard feelings. I think you've still got a lot of anger to work out. So, let it go.